The story, based on real events, follows 34-year-old John, a window cleaner in London. His job is simple, and he does it with quiet dedication, feeling at peace. That day, John returns home to find his son, Michael, waiting at the window, as he does every day. Michael smiles when he sees his father. Nothing is said about his mother, who is likely no longer in their lives. John raises Michael alone and is fully responsible for him, greeting him with warmth and love. That night, John gently brushes Michael's hair, hugs him, and they read a bedtime story and say their prayers. To the outside world, their life seems simple and full of sweet moments. But after Michael falls asleep, John quietly takes medicine in the bathroom, revealing serious health issues despite always smiling around his son. Sometimes a smile is just a mask hiding immense pain. The next morning, John gets ready while Michael eats cereal. After breakfast, he walks him to school. Before they part, Michael asks, "Where's my mama?" Children sense when adults are hiding something. It's hard to get straight answers. John gently repeats what he always says. She had to go away. The moment is quiet and sad. They hug, kiss, and say goodbye. We soon learn that 3 months earlier, John was diagnosed with a terminal illness. With little time left, he struggles to tell Michael the truth. His priority is making sure Michael will be loved and safe after he's gone, so he begins looking for a family to adopt his son. The first couple he meets is young, wealthy, and seemingly kind. They talk about wanting the boy to have a good life, and John hopes Michael might enjoy a better childhood. But when the man focuses on giving the child the best education, John feels uneasy. It sounds like Michael would be just another piece of their perfect life plan, not someone to love unconditionally. The woman, Celia, a nursery teacher, suggests moving Michael to her school. John explains that he already has friends where he is. When Celia asks what they would tell Michael about his father, John, unprepared, quietly says that his dad was a window cleaner. On the way home, father and son stopped at a bridge. John points to the cars below and says they're all headed to different places, but each has a final stop. Gently, he asks Michael if he would ever want to live with different people. Michael, without thinking, answers that he wants to stay at home, which touches John deeply. Back home, Michael draws flowers on John's arm, copying the ones in his tattoo. Small moments like these now feel incredibly precious because John knows they might disappear soon. He feels heartbroken knowing he may never give Michael a full, happy childhood, and that the dream of raising him into adulthood now seems impossible. The next day, John visits the adoption agency. They suggest making a memory box for Michael, but he refuses. He wants his son to feel he truly belongs to his new family and doesn't want him to grow up knowing he was adopted. He fears that Michael will feel abandoned, first by his mother, then by him, and that the truth might crush his spirit. The staff tries to comfort him, but he leaves feeling worse than when he first heard his diagnosis. At home, John and Michael read a story and walk in the park. He smiles and pretends everything is fine, though he is deeply stressed. They eat ice cream and visit a football field, where he feels torn watching other fathers with their sons. Over the next few days, he continues cleaning windows, but his mind keeps drifting to Michael's future. He notices the small joys children experience and wonders if Michael will get to enjoy them too. One day, John takes Michael to meet another potential adoptive family, an older couple. They seem kind, and Michael enjoys playing with their rabbit. But when the man starts angrily complaining about a neighbor's dog, which makes John uneasy, when John mentions that Michael likes puppies, the mood turns awkward. The woman quietly shares that she cannot have more children, and John begins to doubt whether this really is the right home. On the way back, he asked Michael if he would like a rabbit. Sensing his father's unease, he says he'd rather have a puppy. Later, John visits Miss McDana, a kind woman he works for. After he cleans her windows, she offers him a sandwich and talks with him. Her belief in life after death brings him a measure of spiritual comfort as he faces an uncertain future. She once doubted any afterlife, but now believes in it, and even talks to her late mother every day. She advises him to keep his bond with Michael alive in some way, even if he is no longer there. Sometime later, Michael finds a dead beetle under a tree and asks, "Why isn't it moving?" John explains that all living things grow old and die. Their bodies stay, but their souls move on. He struggles to explain death to someone so young, saying that life should be lived with joy and that everything has an ending. Bodies remain, but life continues somewhere else. Michael doesn't really understand and runs off to get ice cream. That night, John worries that if he says too much, Michael might expect him to still be around after death, which would only confuse and hurt him more. At work, John eventually stops trying to breathe through the discomfort. His boss notices, but mistakes it for laziness. Instead of helping, he mocks John, refuses to pay him, and treats him with contempt. Hurt and angry, John drives away. Later at the hospital, something in him snaps. With nothing left to lose, he buys a box of rotten eggs and goes to his boss's building. In a quiet but bold act, he throws eggs at the windows and another at his boss's new Ferrari. Back home, his health worsens. Even wrapping a grape for Michael leaves him exhausted. This is the point where the physical toll of his illness becomes impossible to ignore. He sinks into the couch, drained. Seeing his father in pain, Michael brings him a glass of water and gently places his hand on John's, a small act of love that fills him with warmth. A few days later, they visit another potential adoptive family with 6 children. The woman promises that Michael will be the last child they take in, but when an older boy complains about missing shoes, John senses something is wrong. The house feels chaotic and Michael looks uncomfortable. After thinking it over, John decides this family isn't right either. As time passes, John grows more anxious and asks the agency to help find Michael's birth mother. He hopes she might be now ready to raise him, though he doesn't resent her for leaving. The agency says it is nearly impossible. She disappeared right after giving birth, leaving no real address. Finding her would be like looking for a grain of sand on a beach, and even then, there is no guarantee she would take Michael. Meanwhile, John must still choose from the families they have already met. He asks for more time, but the agency reminds him he has to decide soon. At home, John's health worsens. The next day, he goes to the garage to pick up his car from service. When the mechanic hands him the bill, John is shocked by the amount. With almost no income, this hits him hard, but the mechanic gently explains that the charge is only for the parts and that the labor is free. Touched by this kindness, John thanks him and pays. Soon after, John and Michael begin preparing for John's 34th birthday. They shop for cake ingredients, hoping to celebrate at a full table. John wants to create one last happy memory with his son. At the supermarket, he sees a pregnant woman and tries to talk to her, wondering if she might be the kind of person who could one day care for Michael. She is kind, but distant. From her words and manner, it is clear her life is already full, and she is expecting her own baby. They say goodbye, and John walks away feeling sad. Later, father and son buy fruit, go home, and bake the birthday cake. They carefully place 34 red candles on top. It becomes one of the rare days that feels truly joyful, because deep down, they both know John will not live to see another birthday. Then Michael brings one extra candle and sets it on the cake. John pauses, unsure whether it is an innocent mistake, or whether Michael somehow senses something about life and death. Either way, it gives him a small spark of hope, and he hugs his son tightly. Even as time runs out, John keeps searching for a safe, loving home where Michael will belong. The next day, they visit a 4th prospective home, a single woman who wants to raise a child. John's growing desperation shows. Now he only wants someone who will genuinely love Michael, regardless of money or status. She once had a baby young, but gave the child up for adoption. Later, when she tried to change that part of her past, doctors told her she could no longer have children. Her husband eventually left, and now she hopes that adopting a child will help her heal. Though she has less money than the other families, John notices something special in her. Her voice, her eyes, and the way she speaks to Michael feel honest and full of care. Watching them together, John feels peaceful for the first time, as if this woman really could give Michael a loving home. The moment breaks when Michael suddenly asks her, "When are you going to die?" The blunt question exposes his confusion and innocence. The woman is surprised but stays calm,
saying no one knows when they will die, and she hopes it will be a long time from now. John is stunned. He has no idea how much Michael understands about death. Overwhelmed, he takes his son's hand and leaves, that question echoing in his mind all the way home. He still cannot give up. He must find the right home for his son before time runs out. Later, John visits Miss McDonough again. Over tea, she urges him to stay hopeful and look for whatever light remains. John, however, feels lost. He cannot see how anything good can come from dying and leaving his child. The next day, he tries to return to work, but halfway through a job, he's stopped by crushing fatigue. His face grows more worn each day. As he climbs slowly down the ladder, he realizes he can no longer keep cleaning windows. That evening, he collapses on the sofa, utterly drained. 4-year-old Michael gently lays a blanket over him. Later, John wakes to the soft sounds in the room and pulls his son close, his heart full of love, fear, and sadness. Soon they visit a 5th potential adoptive family. As they enter the house, Michael spots a line of stuffed rabbits on the table. His eyes light up and he looks at his father hopefully. The man of the house notices and immediately hands him one of the rabbits. He proudly shows John a small toy house he has built to welcome a child into their home, and asks if Michael might like it. John hadn't expected him to be so thoughtful and playful. He smiles and says he might bring Michael over for a visit. Then, to John's surprise, the man adds that perhaps Michael should only visit when he is older, because the things in the room are too delicate to survive in a child's hands. The remark feels wrong, and John's heart sinks. When it is time to leave, the man's wife gives him a look that clearly means it is time to ask for the rabbit back. The request hangs in the air, making the moment heavy and uncomfortable, as Michael realizes the toy, and maybe this home, are not really his. John sees how uneasy everyone is and quietly tells Michael to return the rabbit. Even though the family has a nice house and seem to have everything, he begins to wonder, if they cannot let a child keep a simple toy, how can he trust them to give his son a life filled with warmth and generosity? As they walk back, Michael suddenly turns to his father and asks, "What is adoption? What's adopt, Daddy?" John stopped, shocked. He had hoped Michael would not need to understand this yet, but looking at his small, curious son, he realizes he may not have much time left. John kneels and gently explains that when parents can't take care of their children anymore, they find a new family for them, one that will look after them and give them a better life. Michael is only 4, so he doesn't fully understand. He frowns and says, "I don't want to be adopted. I don't want a new family." Then, without another word, he walks ahead, carefully stepping on every cracked tile on the pavement. Later, when John meets the young woman from the adoption agency, he speaks openly. He says he isn't sure he should be the one to decide Michael's future, and wonders if he even knows his son well enough to make such a huge choice. The woman is moved. Her eyes fill with tears as she promises to help him however she can. That night at home, John bathes Michael. When he finishes, he doesn't leave right away, just stands there watching his son. After brushing Michael's hair, John goes outside and copies the way Michael walks, stepping only on the white lines of the pavement, as if trying to enter his son's world. After a few steps, he loses his balance. His illness is getting worse. He can no longer walk in a straight line. Frustrated, he hits his car again and again. Seeing his reflection in a window, he understands that Michael will soon have to adjust to a new life with a new family. That same night, a small moment hurts them both. Michael tries to eat the last of his father's yogurt with his spoon, but John stops him sharply. Michael doesn't understand why. John is only trying to protect him, afraid his illness might somehow be passed on, even through something as small as sharing cutlery. He then tries to pour Michael some orange juice, but his hands shake badly. It becomes clear he is struggling even with the smallest actions, while Michael watches in silence. Later, John throws away Michael's old pajamas and gives him a new pair. He wants to show his son that although change is difficult, it is sometimes necessary, and one day Michael will face many changes without him. Michael doesn't like it. He gets upset and can't sleep. After a while, he throws the new toys and pajamas in the bin, refusing to accept them. His rejection shows how strongly he resists changes he can't yet explain. Strangely, this makes John smile. Michael's anger and refusal are signs that there is still a flame inside him, a strong will, far better than quiet passive acceptance. This gives John comfort and confidence that his son will be okay with the right family, especially if they respect Michael's emotions and boundaries. Over the next few days, he starts putting his affairs in order. He visits the cemetery where he will be buried, washes his car, and organizes his work files to hand over to colleagues. But the most important task remains securing Michael's future. One day, he takes Michael to an amusement park. They ride bumper crafts, eat cotton candy, and laugh together. It feels like the best day ever. Michael doesn't realize it, but it will be the last time his father brings him somewhere like this. That night they sit and talk. John feels calmer than he has in a long time. He tells Michael that soon he will leave his body and go somewhere else, but he will not truly be gone. He says he will still be with him in the air around him, close in the wind, in the sunlight on his face, in the rain, and even in the grapes Michael eats, not inside them, but in the way they taste. Michael will not see him, but can always talk to him. That night, following the agency's advice, John begins to write letters, 15 handwritten messages, one for each of Michael's future birthdays. Each envelope holds a note, a photo of them together, and a red candle symbolizing hope. One special letter includes the only picture of Michael with his mother. John also leaves his work tools as simple reminders of who he was. These letters are his final act of love, a lasting gift from a dying father to his son. The next morning, Michael seems to sense that something is different. He wakes earlier than usual and is unusually alert. John takes him on one last bus ride through the city. They travel slowly until they reach the home of a kind woman, who greets them warmly as though she had been waiting for this moment. Michael stays quiet and looks up at his father. John gives him a gentle, emotional smile, full of love and farewell. Without words, something passes between them. Michael understands in his own quiet way. He feels what goodbye means.